Great. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Xiomara Melendez on behalf of Project Camino's Office of Student Success at Cal Poly Pomona. We thank you for being here. Congratulations on being accepted to Cal Poly Pomona. We know how challenging of a year this has been and what an accomplishment it is for you to be admitted. And so our office is really coming together with the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarship to bring forth some critical information, make sure that you're aware of different timelines that are coming up. We know that questions around financial aid are always of concern. And so we're happy that you are joining us today. We're gonna go ahead and put a couple of things in the chat, but the chat has been disabled. We do ask for you to go ahead and hold on to your questions until the end of the presentation. There's so much content that our speaker Beatrice is going to be sharing with you, and we know that she's going to be answering a lot of those questions for you. For those of you that are joining and that need Spanish translation, please go ahead and click on that button that says interpretation on the bottom, and you'll be able to hear the presentation translated in Spanish. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and thank and welcome our speaker for today, Beatriz Rodriguez from the Office of Financial Aid and Scholars. Beatriz, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations again to our newly admitted and transfer students. So we're going to get started because we have a lot of slides to go through. And the presentation today is what you need to know about financial aid. So I'm going to try to share as much information as possible that is important right now to you as the days are going by. Okay, so questions that we will answer today. First of all, we are going to discuss whether you should complete the FAFSA application or the DREAM, how much it costs to attend college and what it's included in that cost. Another area that we will discuss is what is the difference between the grants, scholarships, loans, and work study. And at the end, we're going to discuss what happens after you apply. Do you have a to-do list, or have you been awarded? So which applications should you complete? If you are a student, so you complete either or, you don't complete both of them. So if you're a student who has a valid Social Security number, and you're a US citizen or a permanent resident, or you're an eligible non-citizen, and you will be starting with us at Cal Poly for next fall 2021, spring 2022, then you have to complete the 2021-22 FAFSA application. Where do you complete it? You complete it at www.studentaid.gov, which is the website that I have provided to you. And when you complete that, the eligible funding for this is federal, state, and any institutional programs. If you don't have any of the requirements listed on the FAFSA area, then you can go ahead and complete the California DREAM application. So for that one, you do not meet the criteria that the FAFSA requires, and that you're a student who meets the conditions of an AB 540 student. For this, it's the same thing. If you're a fall student, fall 2021, spring 2022 is the same process. You will use the 2021-22 DREAM application. And the website is provided for you at dream.csac.ca.gov. And for this is state funding. Just as a reminder at the bottom, basically, the application does open up for both on October 1st, and it ends on March 2nd for priority deadline. And for that, so that you can meet the maximum type of aid eligible for. You are required to have your 2019 tax returns handy. So make sure that you have those. For FAFSA filers, you have the option to use the DRT, which is the data retrieval tool that transfer the IRS info to the FAFSA. Unfortunately for our dreamers, that access is not available. Next, so who are we? So in the process, we're partners. In order for our students to have a smooth process in their financial aid and their status, we need the financial aid office, of course. We need the parents as we use information from them, and we also need the student. As we all collaborate, it's easier for a smooth process for our students to complete their financial aid. So what do we do as financial aid? We answer questions and we provide the guidance for completing the financial aid application. We also determine students' aid eligibility, and we evaluate special circumstances. We also package financial aid funds, and we coordinate aid. The types of aid that we coordinate are federal, state, and Cal Poly Pomona. We have athletics awards, scholarships, tuition waivers, and once you're ready to get paid, then we have our financial aid sent to accounting. So we work with accounting a lot. So the cost of college. So the cost of college consists of tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies, transportational, and personal expenses. And I'll explain to you a little bit more on what they are. So typically there's three different cost of budgets. So we have the on-campus, we have the parents, and we have off-campus. And there's two things that never change, and that's tuition and fees and books and supplies. So the cost of college for California residents consists, again, of the tuition and mandatory fees, room and board, books, transportation, and personal. As you can see at the bottom, there are the total amounts are completely different for each one. So that's what the budget is. The commuter is living at home, on campus at Cal Poly, off campus, living off Cal Poly, and off with parents. So these never really change unless you report it to be considered a non-resident. And I'll go over that with you. Two things that I normally tell my students to kind of worry about if you're not dorming is tuition and mandatory fees. And the reason for that, and books. And the reason for that is because you have to pay for tuition first and mandatory fees. You have to pay for your books and then room and board towards the end. The $7,438 consists of a yearly cost of tuition. So for example, for fall 2021, as an example, I don't know if tuition is gonna change a little bit, but if it doesn't, stays the same, it's normally $2,871 per semester. And then mandatory fees are about $834. And then your books are about the same. It's a, how can I say? Books can vary in price depending. Some classes might not need a book and you can use a book with a friend. So those two items are normally the ones that I say to worry about. So the cost of college, what could impact tuition? Like I mentioned, residency status. If you're considered a non-resident, then you would have to pay non-resident fees, which on top of the tuition, there's an additional cost. And how is this determined? When you complete your Cal State Apply, if you, for some reason, made an error and it's coding you as a non-resident, then you will have to, then you will be charged non-resident fees. However, if there was a mistake and you need to fix this residency status, you will have to contact admissions for that, and the information is provided below. So how do you cover your cost? Normally, financial aid, your financial aid package covers some of your cost, if not all. You have also a payment plan that you can obtain through students cashiering and accounting. We also have federal direct Parent Plus loans for undergraduate students, and we also have student or parent private loans. So what are the types of financial aid that we have? We have grants, scholarships, work study, and loans. And I will explain to you each one and what it is. So grants are free money. You don't have to pay back. And they consist of the federal Pell Grant, federal SEOG, California state grants, and Cal Poly Pomona institutional grants. And again, all of these grants are through the FAFSA. So that's why it's important that you complete your FAFSA application beginning October 1st and meet the deadline of March 2nd. So estimated California grants. So two of our grants are the California Cal Grant and the State University Grant. And again, you must have filed your application by the March 2nd deadline. The California Student Aid Commission does determine the Cal Grant eligibility, and you must be considered a California state resident. Students pursuing their initial undergraduate degree are eligible to receive the State University Grant Award, the maximum amount of it. The requirements are for freshman admits, they get up to 150 total earned units. So once you have exceeded those 150 units, then you're no longer eligible for SUG. For transfer students with less than 75 transfer units, it's 150 total units earned. So that would be Cal Poly Pomona units plus transfer units. And for transfer students with 75 units or more transfer units, it's 75 units earned at Cal Poly. And then your student aid, your state university grant is exhausted. So it's important that you check your Cal Grant. If you haven't created an account yet, you can create a web grants account at www.webgrantsforstudents.org. It's open 24 hours, 7 days a week. This area here is very important. So for our freshman students, something to remember is that you need to confirm your high school graduation as required. So if you're freshly coming out of high school and you need to go in and create an account, and you need to confirm your graduation so that that information or qualifications can be sent to us. For our transfer students, this is also very important. Since most of our students do receive our Cal Grant at a community college, it is important that you go in and that you change the school of your choice. So if you are attending Cal Poly, it's important that you claim your Cal Poly, that you claim your award to be sent to Cal Poly Pomona. And if you don't see your Cal Grant listed in your preliminary award or estimate awards, please make sure that you contact us. You can check on your web grants. It's possible that either one of those two items you haven't completed. And so it does take time for us to receive that type of information. We also have the Middle Class Scholarship, which is another grant. The Middle Class Scholarship is for our undergraduates and students pursuing a teaching credential with family assets of $184,000. Students must meet the criteria as listed. So they have to be a California resident, they have to be a US citizen or a permanent resident or have an AB 540 status. They must meet the income requirement of 184 as listed above. They must maintain satisfactory academic progress, which means that you must successfully complete your classes. Not be in default on a student loan. So that means you have to be in good standing with your loans, and you must not be incarcerated. To receive this middle class scholarship, it is a 4-year scholarship, and it's awarded depending on your educational level. What that means is if you're a student that's coming from another college or a community college and you're coming in as a 3rd-year student, well, you only get it as a fourth year student. So most of the time, you'll probably get it for the next 2. So it just depends on your education level. And the way that you get this grant is also by completing your FAFSA application or your DREAM application, and must also be filed by the March 2nd deadline. So these amounts do vary between the 10% and the 40% of mandatory system-wide tuition fees, so the amounts are never the same. And this award is only for students who are not eligible for any other type of aid with the exception of loans. So this means that if you're a student who's receiving federal Pell Grant, the state university grant, then most likely you won't receive this type of grant. It's only for students who are not eligible for any other aid. So scholarships is also free money, but scholarships, you normally apply for them. They are athletic, either academic, leadership, theater, music, usually competitive, institutional, national, state, local, or civic. So all those are scholarships. And I'll give you information when to apply in the next slides. So just be smart about scholarships. You should never pay money to apply for a scholarship. And think about it as a scholarship is always to the financial benefit of you, the student. So this is our page. Every single year we have, this year we had the Scholarship Fest. And you can apply for scholarships beginning October 1st up to March 2nd. And that's good for the following academic year. And take advantage. There's a lot of students that don't apply for scholarships. And if you have already paid for your tuition and your cost, any other aid that comes in through is given to you. It's for you to keep. Federal Work Study is a program on campus that it's either can be on campus or some jobs are off campus. And basically you work for this money. You work 10 to 15 hours a week. It's paid directly to you, to the student. It's a paycheck, it's a job. You don't get paid, you get paid no less than the minimum wage. And for the most part, there's a lot of offices, departments that work with your schedule. So if you ever receive this, take advantage of that as well. And that's also federal work study is also money that you don't have to repay because you're working for that money. So now loans, loans you do have to repay, but they are available for your educational cost. We do provide and we do have the subsidized and unsubsidized direct plus for parent loans or for undergraduate students, and we also have private loans. So what we say is minimize your debt. If you don't need to borrow more than what you absolutely need, don't borrow it. And it is to help finance your education. So of course, if you need it, it's there for you. But remember that you do have to repay those loans. Not today, not tomorrow, but you do have to repay them 6 months after you graduate, or you pay them once you fall below half-time status, once you stop attending. And you do need a minimum of half-time status to receive them. So who receives a preliminary aid package, also known as the estimated package? So this is one of the last, kind of the last part of it. So those that receive the estimated package are, is information based on the FAFSA or the DREAM. It's information provided by the Cal State Apply application, and the Student Aid Commission. So the aid package is only meant for informational and planning purposes only. It's not an official award. And so some of our students should be receiving this now. If you do get an estimated or preliminary aid package as an award, it will not let you accept or decline any of the estimated items. It's only for planning purposes. So who gets, how can you get a finalized package, and when? So to receive an official package, you either have to have submitted all your documents listed on your to-do list by the priority deadline of April 26th, or you were not required to submit any documents. So basically, I know this is a little bit confusing. So basically what this is students who get an estimated package are those students who didn't require to get any documents, or they're pending some documents, but they have already submitted. And the other slides, I'll go ahead and go over a little bit more details. So some of the questions are, how do I get my award? Where can I see my award? So if you go into your Bronco Direct, you can choose the financial aid section, and you will choose the academic year. So for you, for example, it's going to be the fall 2021, spring 2022. So you're going to choose the 2021-22. The above table shows an award based on a yearly status. So it will show what type of award it is, if it's federal work study, federal Pell Grant, Cal Grant, and it will also show how much you were offered and how much you accepted. If it's an estimated award, remember you cannot accept or decline any award. So it will just basically show the same amount. For those of you who have an official package, if you see that it's been offered, normally grants you don't accept unless you're borrowing a loan. So if you're borrowing a loan, you have to accept it. Otherwise, it's auto accepted, and you will also see it on your awards. The bottom section splits fall and spring. So as you can see, it's the same awards. It's the same award type, but the amounts change, and that's because it's split into half. If you hit the View Schedule Disbursement Date button, you will see that it provides you with a screen that looks like this, and it will show what award it is, the amount that you accepted, and it will also show on the highlighted area the scheduled disbursement date of when funds will be going out.
And Beatrice, just to make sure
Yes.
that we're understanding, this is based on full-time status, correct?
This is
So this is
based on
just an
full-time.
example based on
Yes.
status.
So it's based on full-time status. Once we run the awards, the student will get paid based on the units that they are enrolled.
And at this point, this is not something that most students are able to see, given that this is just a preliminary, correct?
Right.
Thank you.
Right. It's in the works. So we're still working on 2021-22. So it should be running pretty soon. So if you don't have a preliminary aid package, if you don't see it that it's available, it can be a few things. So right now we are in the works for 2021-22. Hopefully by, I know that students already have their to-do list. So if you go into your Bronco Direct and you check, you might be able to see some forms that you need to submit. The deadline is April 26th. However, if you don't see any forms or you don't see an award, then it's most likely that something's going on wrong in your application. So either you completed your application, you saved it, but didn't submit it. You didn't list Cal Poly Pomona as one of the schools attending. And so our school code is 001144. It can also be that you need to confirm your social security number on your application, as it should always match with admissions and records. You need to also confirm your name that you use on your application and make sure that it matches with also Cal Poly Pomona admissions and records. And for our dreamers, sometimes you complete your dream application, however, you haven't done your AB 540 affidavit. So you need to make sure that you also follow through on that. Otherwise, you won't get a preliminary package. So normally our way of communication is through email. So we do a lot of emails. That's our form of communication. I think that's mostly in every school. When we have something that you're pending, you will receive an email. When your financial aid package is done, you will also receive an email. When we want to know something, you'll also receive an email. So it's important that as of now, you start checking your emails, your Cal Poly Pomona email, for any updates or any to-do list items or anything that you might need to do. And you can also check on your Bronco Direct. So when we send emails, it's already reflecting on your Bronco Direct for all that information that is needed or information that we want to let you know that your file has been completed. So Bronco Direct is a site where we provide information regarding your financial aid. And so you will also see there if there's any documents that you need, it's considered your to-do list. You will see that item there. You will also be able to see what kind of aid you're receiving, the dates, and any holds that you might have. And you can also view and accept your financial aid. Again, any free aid is auto accepted. Any loans that you might receive, you have to accept on your own. And you can review service indicators. So this is one important thing. Service indicators are very important for you to check once in a while, and I'll explain to you why in the next few slides. So how can you be informed? So our website has a lot of information in regards to your aid process, your award information, important dates, and links and resources that you might be able to use. It's very important that you log in once in a while and kind of see what we have available. It will answer a lot of your questions as well. So visit and kind of, play around with what we have there. Your Bronco Direct is information where we have your financial aid package, we have your college financing plan, and there's also your to-do list of items that you need to complete. So those areas are very important for you to kind of view and open up things and complete. So special circumstances is information that cannot be documented on your financial aid application at the time that you completed. For example, if you had a loss of income due to COVID, changes of circumstances, dependency statuses, then you can contact our office. So this is something new for this year. You contact our office to discuss those circumstances with a counselor, and that will begin in April. After it's being reviewed for special circumstances, all decisions are final. So remember that our aid is entirely need-based. And so we try to send you the best possible package first. But if your situation changes, please make sure to contact our office as we can help in many ways. And this is our phone number and our emails. Please make sure that you always, every time you contact us, we don't know you. If you do not provide your Bronco ID number, if you don't provide your name, and if you don't email us within your Cal Poly Pomona email, unfortunately, we're not able to help you. And so sometimes emails are very lengthy and we have a lot of them. And we really hate to see emails that don't provide that kind of information, as you do have a FERPA, and so we're unable to reply to your email if we don't have any of that information that we're requesting. So save time for yourself so that you don't have to contact us. So this screen is very important to me. It's very colorful because I want to make sure that you understand something. So first of all, if you completed your application a year ago, this year, 2 years ago, it doesn't matter. Every single year you have to complete the FAFSA application or the DREAM. Even though you did it 2 days ago from closer to the new year, it doesn't matter. You still have to do a new application every single year, and it opens up October 1st. This year's deadline is April 26th, and that is to submit any documents. So if you go into your Bronco Direct and it shows that you have a to-do list, you have documents that you need to submit, those documents must be submitted by April 26th to meet any type of aid eligibility. If you don't, you miss out on certain type of aid. And when you submit your documents, a counselor reviews your file. That's considered your file. When a counselor reviews your file, they will also apply what they call an FAS. An FAS is, they call it a hold because it goes into your holds area or your service indicators. And what that does is it provides a code to tell cashiers that we're saving your classes because you're a potential student receiving some kind of financial aid. And it's important because if you don't submit it by April 26th, you will be responsible in paying for your fees. So July 1st is the first day that tuition will be posted on your Bronco Directs. So basically cashiers is saying, hey, you have some fees due, pay them by July 22nd. If you have completed your documents by April 26th, and on your holds area, we put a code saying your classes are being saved, you don't have to worry about paying it on July 22nd. Because we don't release aid until August 9th, which is 10 days prior to the beginning of the semester, which is August 19th. So just to recap, complete your documents by April 26th so that your file can get reviewed and awarded. You get a positive indicator showing that your classes are saved. You don't have to worry about the July 22nd fee due date. You receive your aid on the 9th. It pays off your tuition and fees. Any leftover money gets refunded to you, and your classes begin August 19th. And again, this is her financial aid information, contact information. Our email is there. We also have the scholarships email, our phone number, and we do reply back to any voicemails that you might leave, any emails we do. Sometimes we do get bombarded with so many emails, but we get to each one sooner or later, and our website is also provided. And that's the end. So, Xiomara, any questions that students might have or parents?
Yes, we've had a couple of questions that we've been answering in the Q&A, but we thank our audience for listening into the presentations because we know that you answered quite a number of them. I am going to go through a couple of general questions that are still lingering behind.
Okay.
Somebody did ask, is there a place where they can notify if they're interested in work study?
So the way that you can get work study is when you complete your FAFSA or DREAM application, there's a question there that asks, are you interested in work study? You need to select yes. However, if you don't select yes, then we do not provide any of the work study awards. So that would be the main step.
Okay. And for students that are looking for the AB 540 affidavit form, is that something that they can find on our website?
Actually, you won't find it you'll find it in the admissions because it's an admissions app. So what they can do is log into our Cal Poly website, and on the right-hand side, there's a little search button. just have them type residency, and it'll take them to the actual steps on how to provide that, how to do that.
Perfect. And then for students that they need to make changes through the Cal Grant, that they need to either add CPP on their financial aid, that's not something that is automatically done, correct? The student needs to go in through the Cal Grant site and make those updates themselves, correct?
Yes, so they would have to go to their Cal Grant site, how they log in as a student, and they need to open up their current application and make a correction.
And then I believe the question is, how can I change CPP to be my first choice? They originally added CPP as their second choice, and I believe that may be either in the FAFSA. Is that a mandatory to add CPP under the first choice, or will it be okay if as long as it's listed as one of the schools?
As long as it's listed as one of those schools, that's fine. The issue becomes when we're listed as a second school and they're applying and they start attending Cal Poly and we don't get any of their information. That's because when they do, CSAC only sees the first transaction, and that first transaction will show Cal Poly as a second school. So it doesn't recognize that that's the school of attendance that they're doing. So that's why they need to go back into their CSAC and they need to change the school of their choice.
And if a student does not qualify for any aid, what would be some of the next steps, and how would they look into perhaps even the middle class scholarship?
So it's automatically, they don't have to apply for the middle class scholarship. Once they do their FAFSA or their DREAM application, if they're not eligible for any other aid, but they are eligible for the middle class scholarship, they will get awarded the middle class scholarship. So they don't have to do anything on their own. That's just a free grant. However, if they need additional funds, I would say look for scholarships. So we do have more information on our website regarding the scholarships. And so basically what it is one main application that they complete and they fill out their criteria. And then it starts kind of trickling down to other scholarships that meet that criteria, that lets them know, hey, apply for me. So then they start applying for all other scholarships that are available based on what they put in there. The last resource I would say would be their loans. Students do get offered their own personal loans, guaranteed, based on their academic year. And so that would be a choice. They're not horrible. Everybody has, because they're loans, of course, they have a bad image of them. However, they do help for their educational costs and their interest rates are pretty good. And they don't have to pay for them as they're attending school. They pay for them once they have graduated, and it's 6 months after that, or once they fall below half-time status, or once they stop attending. However, they do help for educational costs.
Perfect. And then we are seeing some questions about students that have checked their financial aid, but they're not seeing anything in Bronco Direct. Is that something because maybe there's no document request at this time for them?
So I would say to give it at least until next week. Like I said, we're prepping everything for 2021-22. And so we're still downloading files. We're still doing all that great stuff. I know that if you are required to submit documents, they have been already sent to the students. They are on their to-do list. So they need to get started on that. If within a week you don't see anything, you need to call our office. We'll be able to tell you whether maybe you did the application and you saved it and didn't submit it, and just kind of troubleshoot from there.
Okay. And then a question on the tuition for full-time students. We would be able to find on the website, right, for part-time of the tuition?
Yes.
Or do you
So
know the number off the top of your head?
you can for tuition, you can go to students accounting and cashiering, and on the left side, you can select tuition cost, and it will break it down to you from 1 unit to 6 units. It is a different amount. If I'm not mistaken, it's 1,665 for full-time tuition, and full-time consists of 6.1 units and above. It's considered the full-time tuition, which is 2,871. But yes, you can find that if you log in into Students Accounting and Cashiering. And again, it's Cal Poly Pomona website on the search button on the right side. Just type in Students Accounting and Cashiering or Cashiering, and it will take you directly.
And for where students see through Bronco Direct that it says remaining need, does that mean that this is the number that they will have to pay?
So no. And I didn't touch that subject because it's gonna confuse a lot of the students. So the total cost of attendance minus any financial aid received leaves down the leftover need. And so what that is you cannot exceed, any student cannot exceed their cost of attendance. So if you get, for example, you have the at-home budget and it's 16,000, and you get federal Pell Grant and you get Cal Grant and you get scholarships and then you get loans, but somehow there's too much money and it has reached over the 16,000, then there's something that we need to fix, or the student might not be able to get some type of aid. And that's what it is.
Okay. Would you mind hitting that back button on your presentation so folks can see how to contact? We see some students that are, indicating they're a little bit confused and they want to reach out. So we invite for you to go ahead and send out an email. Go ahead and call the financial aid office and make sure you have your Bronco ID number, and they can definitely assist you with any very specific questions that you may have. I know that you touched on this, but can you go ahead and share a little bit again about for students that have a financial change this year and what the process may be to try to inform our campus about those financial changes?
Okay, so normally when you complete the FAFSA application and the DREAM application, you're required for this coming up academic year to provide 2019 income. However, COVID came around. There was a lot of families that were laid off. We have special circumstances where some of our students are unable to provide parents information, not because they didn't want to, because there was abuse or there was something. So those are special circumstances, and they're not noted on your FAFSA because you reported 2019 income. If you have any of those situations where an income has changed anytime after 2019, then you can reach out to our office. You can give us a call. You can meet with one of the counselors after April, and you can discuss that with them, because there's a possibility that you might be able to, we might be able to make that change, and hopefully you might be eligible for the maximum amount of aid. Something that students need to know, and parents, is just as well as we are doing the work in calculating how much the aid has changed, if they provide certain documentation, we have to process it. So that's why it's important that they contact a counselor to discuss that, and hopefully make the student eligible for more aid than what they were not eligible with the 2019 income.
And just to reiterate, because there's some questions on the Cal grants, you still recommend that students go ahead and make that change and make Cal Poly Pomona and update with our school code, this is their first choice so that we're able to get that information from them, correct?
Yes, definitely. So if you're a new student, so normally for new students, they do ask for a graduation date. And it'll show them there as soon as it opens up, it'll let them know, like, you have something pending. You have to answer this question. So once they answer it, it kind of triggers them to send a new report to us with potential students that are eligible for Cal Grant. The same thing with our transfer students. So if you're a transfer student, you have to make sure that if you are attending Cal Poly Pomona, that our school is listed as one of the schools you're going to be attending so that we can receive your Cal Grant information as well.
I have a question of, if the parents will not be providing financial help, would you recommend to reach out for loans additionally with applying for scholarships?
So if the parents are not, so the eligibility is based on the information that they provide on the FAFSA. If at that point they're not eligible for any aid, then I recommend them to apply for scholarships. Not only does our school provide scholarships, there's outside scholarships too that they can apply for and take advantage of that. And we get information from those scholarships. And if you get chosen for it, there's some students that get 500, 1,000. I've seen some students get 5,000 within the year. So I would say take advantage of that. You have your own personal loans that are guaranteed that you can get based on your career level. And we also have parents, but if parents are not providing any of that support, then you have that to look for.
And typically our campus, we have 2 semesters, fall and spring, and that's usually when tuition is due. There was a question that came in of, is there a deadline to accept financial aid awards?
So for grants, like I mentioned before, for grants, it's auto accepted. When you apply for financial aid, if you get Cal Grant, if you get the Pell Grant, that's free money. It's auto accepted, which means that we don't ask you to accept those. However, if you need additional funds, then that's when the accepting part comes in. You will have to go into your Bronco Direct and automatically accept those awards.
And I know this is traditional of our transfer students where they've been able to see fee waivers, but are there any fee waivers that are available at the at Cal Poly Pomona?
So unfortunately, we don't have any waivers that, for tuition, to waive your tuition. I believe there are some other waivers for graduates, but I don't think we have anything like a community college, like a Board of Governors fee waiver. We don't have that.
There's quite a number of questions around the Cal Grants and how do they make changes on that. Any other tips that you may want to recommend for those that are asking questions around the Cal Grants?
Yeah, so for Cal Grants, it looks intimidating because if you normally don't go in there, you're kind of confused. So let me see.
And we are coming close to time for everybody whose question we may not be able to get to. Again, we invite you to go ahead and follow up with the financial aid office, and we'll go ahead and kind of switch over into a couple of screens. But I did see a number of questions around this topic, so if you can kind of touch on a couple of more things, that would be helpful.
So this is your main website. It's www.webgrantsforstudents.org. That is your student website to log in. You have to create an account, very simple, just like you create any other account. It's a user ID and maybe a password. Once you create it, everything kind of falls into place. If you need to take care of confirming a graduation or doing something like that, it should automatically pop. However, there's things that maybe they don't come up right away. For example, today, you might log in and the confirmation of high school might not be there just yet. So it's important that you always check on a weekly basis. There's nothing wrong with logging in and just checking to make sure that everything's in place. If you have to change or confirm a high school, this is where you do it. For our transfer students, if you need to change the school of your choice and you're attending Cal Poly Pomona, you need to select a school, you need to claim your awards. You will also see the different types of grants that are being offered based on the colleges that you applied for. So always just review it and check on it. maybe my screen is a little intimidating, but trust me, it's not. It's very simple.
And then for the final question that we will go ahead and take is, is there a fee waiver for their acceptance fee? And I know this is tied to the enrollment confirmation deposit.
So when you complete your FAFSA application and it comes into the system and you're eligible for Pell, once you accept it, it should automatically waive your enrollment confirmation fee. But in the event that it doesn't and you are eligible for all this type of aid, then you can either contact, I believe is not the enrollment office.
The Office of Admissions?
No, I forget their name. You can contact our office and then we will let you know, we will transfer you there.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, I don't have I forgot the name of the department.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. So for everybody that is joining us, we are coming to the time to wrap up our webinar. And so we thank you for being here today. Congratulations on being accepted. We know financial aid is a complicated process, and we may have not been able to answer fully all the questions that you have. We are going to be offering another of these webinars coming up on April the 14th. So we invite you to come back. We know that if things are looking great right now, you may have an additional question or may want family to join us back then. We have our list of upcoming webinars on our website, and you can also follow us on social media. We invite you to go ahead and do both and continue to join us. For attending today's workshop, we also would love it if you can go ahead and complete our workshop survey. For your time, it takes about 2 minutes. And for those that are able to submit a workshop response for today, you will be entered into an opportunity drawing that will be announced on June 1st. And your feedback is really critical for us to be able to continue to provide services to you. Again, we thank you so much for joining us at today's webinar. We hope to welcome you to the Bronco family. And if you have any questions, please continue to reach out to the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarship. We have their contact information. Thank you so much, and we continue to wish you well. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.